Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place. Here to challenge you to think out of the box, your hosts, Felipe Mejia and Diego Corzo.
Diego, man, today's show is full of emotion, full of grit, full of just crushing it on Airbnb. This is, I don't want to just call it a mentee though. This is somebody that you met, you gave some guidance to, and just changed the game and doing awesome things.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. And I am super excited because his trajectory of where he was when I met him to what he's been able to accomplish through quitting his job, creating an Airbnb business, house hacking, all of that stuff, I feel like is really going to help a lot of people in the audience, and they're going to leave with some excitement to go out there and crush their goals.
I agree. All right, no more talking. Let's bring in Lucas. Diego, I'm excited because today you brought Lucas onto the show. Now, you know Lucas a lot better than I do, but I'm really excited to get to know him today. Lucas, welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast, man. I'm super excited to get to know you.
Me too, Felipe. Thanks for having me. And Diego, good to be with you again, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very excited to have you here, and thank you for your time.
So one of the reasons I'm excited is because Diego and I love to impact other people's lives in regards to their journey towards their goals, right? So we have Rat Race to 5 the Mastermind. We have about 100 active members, and our goal is to impact as many of those lives as we can in a positive way as they're on their journey to financial independence or, whatever their personal goal is. We're like, how can we use our resources to give back to you? And Diego has a great story on this with Lucas later on. But first, let's get started with you, Lucas. Lucas, since I don't know much about you and probably the listeners as well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who were you in high school? What clique did you hang out with? Give us the rundown a little bit on your life, man.
Here it goes. All right. We just dig right in here on the Rat Race show.
Oh man, I like to get in. It's you got to hear some of the stories that we've heard on the podcast from people in high school. It's great.
Yeah, especially when you just leave it open ended like that.
Right.
Tell us whatever you want.
Yeah. So I was I was an interesting kid. I really liked independence and didn't like rules very much. So yeah, I struggled a lot in terms of just wanting to do my own thing, thinking I had life figured out at a pretty young age. And so clique wise, I was always the only thing that honestly kept me probably graduating high school and, having a semi-successful high school career was sports. I was, a pretty good athlete, track, cross country, wrestling, soccer, captain of a couple of those, state qualifier, all that stuff. So, that's kind of what kept me engaged in school, I would say. The rest of it was kind of like walk into class, put the hoodie on, go to sleep. I struggled, pretty bad with ADD as a young kid. And so at some point, I think I kind of just checked out where I'm like, man, I just can't do this. I just can't sit here for an hour and just listen to you. So there was a few teachers that would grab my attention and, would kind of reel me back in. And in those classes, I was really successful and bright. And in the ones where there wasn't, I literally just did nothing, So it was a lot of class starts, grab the math homework from my friend next to me, scribble down the answers. And that's kind of what that looked like. So I'd say in a gist, that's kind of what it looked like, with a few other stories of, almost getting sent away to military school. Ooh. And couple run-ins with the police. So yeah, I was a partier too. So yeah, a lot of, we'd kind of go from town to town and just pick the best parties each weekend. So I started that early, probably around 16. And obviously that caused a lot of rift with the parents, who were, man, just amazing, supportive parents, and just dude, you got it all. What more do you want? And it's just I don't know. I just need more. I need more excitement. I need more adrenaline. I was an extrovert and just loved that. Like, that's where I felt like alive. And so yeah, I'd say that's kind of the gist of that period of my life.
You know, it's funny, Lucas, I think me and you probably fall in the same camp. I would literally go to class and I would sit as close to the door as possible. Like always, like always as close as I could. And I would always sit down and no joke, Lucas, in every class, I would look around and I would say, I don't understand how people can sit in this chair for an hour. I would literally look at the clock and be like, all right, I got 3 sets of 15 minutes left and I get out of here. I'd be like, okay, 2 more sets of 15 minutes. I got 15. Okay, I can do this. I was the reason the teachers made up the bell doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you, right? I was that reason, bro. I didn't get it. Like, I was like, yo, this is terrible. I can't do this. So I was in the same boat. Lucas, to make you feel a little better, man, you don't be shy about it. I was kicked out of 10th grade for possession of drugs in school. So I just, like you said, I was looking for that next, not high, but like literal, like what I want to do something, right? I want to get, I need to get involved in more stuff. Sports even wasn't enough, right? So, and like you said, I wouldn't say I had it all, but I had enough. And it never seemed to be enough. Like, I needed that more excitement. So yeah, my grades definitely weren't well. I did the same thing as you. I walked in, hey, who did the math homework? Great. Here's a hot Cheeto bag. You know, what's up? You know, give me 15 out of the 20 answers. I'll guess on the last 5 and at least I'm going to pass, right? Like, that was it.
Yeah, it's funny because I fought this like, so I was like involved in leadership programs. Like, I was, vice president of the class, president when I was in 8th grade. Like, so I had this really, charismatic side. The teachers really liked me on one end of things. And yet then there was like what you're talking about, right? Where it was just like, man, there's nothing here for me. I want trouble. I want adventure. I want fun. And it was just like this balancing act. I remember like, I was trying to like date this girl. It was like a year younger that was like a valedictorian and just like very like straight edge. And I just would like fight this thing where I'm like, I want to be that. Like, I want to be good. Like, I want to be, like religious like her, and then I'd be like, this is boring as shit. Like, we would all hang out. They just like watch a movie, Yeah. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'm out of here. Like, I got to go do something more fun.
It's funny you said like that you were in leadership programs in school. I was also in some programs in school, not so much for
not leadership. Yeah.
my affiliations were a little different.
Yeah. I hear you, bro. I'm tracking.
That's so funny. It cracks me up that you said straight edge because I don't think a lot of people know what that means. If I think you're referring to what I think you are, I totally get that too. But anyways, man, that's hilarious because I think a lot of people have those stories in high school and like I don't want to say they try to bury them, but like I think that like who makes us who we are now, right? Like it kind of gives us that personality. It gives us that charismatic, that like outgoing. And sometimes it's a little much for people. Like I've been in positions where like I know that I'm being a little extra for people and I literally have to like, all right, I got to shut down. I got to slow down because I can tell people are like, what's going on? Like this is not the vibe. So anyways, I've been able to mask that with the gym though. I go in the gym, I throw my headphones on, I'm yelling and screaming. I'm in there working out with my gym bros. And like, that's where I can like release, right?
Gotta find it. Yep.
Now Diego, you in high school, bro. Cause we all, so Lucas, just so you know, Diego and I always talk about how I was the penguin and Diego was the eagle in school because do you know what that means?
Yeah. Oh
okay,
yeah.
So my teachers were like, Felipe, you are definitely I was always labeled like with the penguin group and like Diego was probably always with the eagles. And it always meant that like I couldn't fly. Like I couldn't read the best or I couldn't do the math work the best. Diego, it's funny because we always joke about eagles and penguins.
Yeah. And Felipe always says that, hey, he asked me, do you think that we would have been friends in high school? And I told him probably not because we would have been in different classes.
Correct.
But he said that. But he said that in a... Okay, so I got to give context to that, Lucas, and then we'll move on. I swear, this is not what the podcast is about. But this is so funny. But so Diego and I own a mastermind, Rat Race Defy, and we do retreats 2 or 3 times a year where we can kind of get everyone together and like do a bunch of cool stuff. But during one of the retreats, and we were on the like stage, and Diego and I were talking, I was like, hey, Diego, would me and you have been friends in high school, you think? And he was like, I don't think so, man. I don't think we would have had the same classes. Like straight up, no disrespect.
He's like, well, we might have had study hall together. Like, I don't know.
No. Diego would have been the one assigned to help me. Like, hey, we need some. Yeah, Diego would have been assigned to help me. Anyways, let's move on.
I was the one that got the straight A's. I said the curve. I only got 1 B in high school.
Oh my gosh.
But I was really, really shy in high school too. So. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Anyway,
and now you're a TED talking real estate like mogul, podcast hosting.
You're right.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Sure. All right, so Lucas, let's fast forward a little bit. I want you to share a little bit of like how did you and I meet, right? And then because we met at a Tony Robbins mastermind kind of event.
Yep.
It was like a lunch thing. And because of the fact that I mentioned that I wanted to go to a Tony Robbins event and you had just come to a Tony Robbins event, that's how we connected. Can you share a little bit about that and then your trajectory of how you got started, what changed in you and stuff like that and where you are today?
Yeah, I'm trying to even remember what was like the thing that pushed me towards that first Tony event. But I think what it was is so Rebecca's whose house we met at, right, for that mastermind. And I think she was the one that was like, hey, you got to go to this Tony Robbins event. I know my brother had been to one, so I was kind of intrigued by that. And so, I've always been someone who's wanted more for myself and kind of that next level. Didn't always have the resources or know how to do that. So I, purchased a ticket, went by myself, like, rented a Airbnb for like $19 a night, a room in a place in like a terrible part of Jersey,
a closet.
It was so bad, man. Like slimy sheets and like, it was, just like how I like to run my Airbnbs now,
God, I hope
not. And so, I had that event, came back and was, of course, on fire, as they say, after you walk on it. And you and I met there. And I specifically remember like you and I connecting after. We were right by her like kitchen island. And you were probably 26 at the time.
Yeah, 26.
And you're just like, I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. And I'm just like, okay.
I bet you will.
Yeah. Like, I don't like how, like, and so that conversation just started, I'm an agent, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm like, man, I've really been thinking, like I should buy a house. And then I don't know, at what point house hacking came up or at what point those kind of conversations went up. But then we went out and we had lunch and things started moving pretty quickly from there of just like, all right, well, let's start looking around. I think I had just gotten a new job about a year. So just a little background. I was a social worker out of college. So I came out of college making $23,000. So I was basically like making the same amount as what my clients were making, in Minneapolis, which wasn't a cheap city. So I saved up, traveled for about a year and a half in Central South America, came down to Austin, and again, went into social work. And so I was doing street outreach, working with homeless, working with drug injection users, prostitutes, like crazy scenarios. And so I had never made money. So I came down to Austin making $28,000, and we know how expensive this city is. So I think when I met you, I was about a year into my first career job, making at least some cash. I think I was hired at like 50 or 55,000, which was basically double for me at that time. Right. Yeah. So I was like, I am rich. And so I was starting to save a good amount of money because my habits were still the same. I was used to living off of $1,600 a month. So it was like, all right, well, I'm doing a little bit better now. And I was able to stack away some cash. And so you and I sat down, we started talking about that house, and kind of that's where a lot of this stuff began.
Yeah. Give me a little more detail on that conversation, Lucas. Because Diego's the type to like come in and ruin your life in a good way or a bad way. Okay. Listen, for all the ladies out there, Diego's single. If you want your life ruined, no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, Lucas, Diego's the type of person come in, just like feed you knowledge and like not give you excuses and tell you his story. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy cow. Like Diego's just that type of guy. He comes in like a tornado, ruins your life in a good way or a bad way. And it's up to you to take action on the things that Diego teaches you. Diego's taught me a lot. He's taught me how to be a better person. He's called me out on my BS sometimes. So give us a little bit more context on that conversation, if you're okay sharing. And Diego, if you're okay with him sharing that too.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Gosh, it's so long ago now. Like I don't remember the exact conversations we had, I just remember thinking before it, this is too hard. And after it, thinking I can do this, you know? And so that's all I can say is like throughout those conversations. And it's funny that you described Diego that way, because that's not how I would describe him, or at that time. Like it didn't feel like this overwhelming presence, it didn't feel like this tornado coming through of like, go get this. It was just like, hey man, like you can do this. And like, here's the way that you're going to start that process. Nice. And here's your options. And then it was like, okay, so I could buy the house. I could have roommates, like they're paying for basically my rent. I had already Airbnb'd my apartment before. And so I kind of like did a little bit of house hacking already, which was completely legal. Of course, everything I do is. And
dude, compared to some of the things that probably happened in high school, Lucas, we're looking great. We're looking great.
No, 100%. And so I mean, and then I didn't even know when I was going to buy the house. I still was like, okay, I'm either going to house hack or I'm going to Airbnb. I don't know what that's going to look like, but like, let's just start looking for a bigger house where something around that world is going to work. And that was,
Yeah. And Lucas, one of the things that I also did just to put you in a position to grow, because I did some stuff without like just to see what will happen. But I also introduced you to the GoBundance guys. I brought you in to help, brought you in to volunteer.
Well, that was a whole different
Can you share
story.
a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that was crazy, because your brother was supposed to be go crewing that event. And there was a hurricane that left him staying in Florida. And so like 2 days before, we had just had lunch, I think probably 3 weeks before this or a month before that. So very new relationship. We didn't know each other well. You're like, hey dude, you want to like go crew this event? And I'm like, go crew what? Crew go? What are you talking about? And you're like, yeah, there's this event. It's called GoBundance, like, I think you'd be good at it. You just kind of help out and serve drinks and do whatever they ask you to do. And I'm like, I can do that, man. I was a, waiter and bartender for freaking 10, 12 years. So I can help out and serve however I can. And so I showed up to that event, literally knowing nothing about what was about to happen. I didn't know what the qualifications were for GoBundance. I didn't know, I knew it was some sort of investor group. That was about it. And so, that weekend was amazing for me, because I had spent, the only time I had spent really around a lot of money in my life was working as a bartender in country clubs. And in country clubs, most people are dicks. The ones that I worked at.
For the editor, don't edit that out. Don't edit that out, okay? Because I will play it. No, yeah, go ahead, Lucas.
I mean, so I'll say this, actually. I worked for 2 different country clubs. The one where it was like you needed like a medium income to be able to join that one, the people were terrible. Like they literally wouldn't look at you, like take my plate, like blah, blah, blah. And then there's another one I worked at that was like, 200K to join, 100K a year. You had to have 2 references. It's the nicest country club in Minnesota. People were actually, there's like a few like really shitty members, and then everyone else was like very genuine and nice. So to be fair, I did have some good experiences there. But, within my circle, my network, I had never been around wealth before. And the way that I grew up was kind of in a family that was like, if you're wealthy, you're not a nice person. You're an asshole. You're conservative. I grew up very liberal. So it's like, you're going to be a conservative. You're going to, be evil, like kind of, I don't think it was ever directly said, but that was just kind of the way that we were raised, is like wealthy people are and it was always, when you come from a high school that's like right next to other wealthy high schools, then you kind of, at least for us, then it was always like that. You felt that difference. So it's like, those rich kids, blah, blah, blah. They're so douchey. They're so this. So that was kind of my mindset, around money and wealth. And so that event was really life-changing because I saw, okay, and here's the last thing I'll say about that, is I always thought it was one thing or another. I thought you could be like rich, but you would be unhappy, or rich and or whatever, but you couldn't be like rich and giving and healthy and have a good family. Like for me, those two, it was like one or the other, right? And so I always picked, I'm like, I'm going to be a social worker. I'm going to help. I'm going to give to others. And like, I'm going to receive from that. And I'm going to be broke. And so I had picked that for my life.
Yeah.
And so going to that event and meeting these guys that were just incredibly genuine, very, very wealthy and successful. The conversation was a lot about giving back to others. How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? And not just like little stuff, right? Like big stuff, man. Like, how do you have these moments with your kid? Like, you wake up in the morning and spend that 10 minutes playing with them, and how life-changing that was. So it was just all these cool conversations. And so that was a really big moment, Diego, that you gave me that invitation, and I was able to, be around that sort of environment and kind of just have this light bulb go up.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about that is learning about, passive income. I don't, cause I still, like, for me, it's like wealth is like, it's cool. Like, I'd love to be wealthy, but then all of a sudden I'm like, freedom, passive income. I'm like, I like that. I like that a lot. So.
Yeah. And one of the things, Lucas, so I totally forgot about that. It was like at that event, but that is how it happened, where my brother couldn't make it because he couldn't fly out. And I literally called you and I was like, dude, I need your help. But you still had at that point, you still had your full-time job. So you actually had to leave or get vacation and come and literally just volunteer for 3 days or 4 days, not knowing what the heck you were getting into. I didn't tell you much, but I told you this will be an opportunity of a lifetime. And you took action. And there are many people that would have said, no, dude, Diego, I just met you. Am I really going to take time off to do this? But then now you're house hacking, and now you have your Airbnbs. And yes, I feel like being involved in that room created different opportunities, created different mindset shifts, and just ideas that you could implement. So just so that we can move on, where are you right now? What does your portfolio look like? And what are you working on? And then we're going to ask you questions on that.
Cool. Well, I just decided, since there's a lot of tents around Austin, that I would just pitch a tent and live for free. And that's the best house hacking opportunity available, I think. Just
right,
just in the middle of the city. Just so that's what I'm doing currently. No.
Oh man.
So right now, I have 15 properties that I'm managing. 2 of those I own. 3 of those are arbitrage, and the rest of those are pure management.
Management of Airbnb.
Correct. Yeah, these are all short-term, or what they call long shorts. So kind of those mid-term 30+ day rentals, so furnished rentals.
Okay.
Can you dig a little bit more into your business model, Lucas? So like you said, you have 50. You said 15 doors. Is that what you said? Okay, so talk a little bit about how the ones you manage, how that works, the one you own, how that works, and then just kind of break it down into more of a molecular level.
And also, what is Airbnb arbitrage for the audience if they don't know? It's really important.
Yeah.
Diego, awesome. Do you like that big word I used? Molecular level. You see?
Exactly.
Luca.
I didn't know I was coming on here for biology. Man, we already talked about the high school stuff, struggling, and how you're getting me anxiety over here.
There's a test at the end of the podcast. Don't worry.
Why are you twitching, Lucas? Why are you twitching?
I know. You see a lot of movement happening now, right?
Right.
I'm starting to sweat.
Oh, man.
So
Oh,
I'll
God.
just I think the best way to do this is probably just start with how it all happened. So
Yeah.
I'll just go
Perfect.
back to that story with Diego. So
Yeah.
we looked around, we found a house in East Austin, in a pretty affordable neighborhood, kind of a rental type neighborhood. And we closed on that. So it was a 4-bedroom house. It didn't look great. There's just, but, had really 2007 build, your typical kind of starter home. And so made some improvements on it, put some paint on it, pulled some furniture in, went to Goodwill, got some other furniture, rented a truck for a day and went and buy a bunch of used stuff and furnished the house. And at that point, I think I was 30, and I'm like, man, I really don't want roommates. I really don't want roommates, especially like 3 roommates. Like, that sounds miserable to me. So I started thinking about that Airbnb model. And like I said, I had done it before in my apartment. And so I had done it for South by Southwest, where I left my apartment, stayed with a friend, and I did like $350 a night for South by Southwest, which is a huge like tech conference here in Austin. And so I made $3,500 in 10 days, leaving my apartment. And I'm like, dang, man, that was almost like 2 months rent. That was really cool. So I think that was always in the back of my mind. And so I was like, well, why don't I try this option first before I think about having roommates? And so I kind of got the place to where I thought it would be. I took pictures on my cell phone, and I listed it, and I had a booking within like 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, I have a guest in next weekend. So I think that booking was, yeah, exactly. It was like, I think that booking was like $300 a night. So $600 for the weekend. And I was like, man, if I do that every weekend, like, that's my mortgage right there. So I could just figure out a place to go for the weekends or something like that. So that's kind of how the Airbnb stuff started. And then I'm like, okay, I'll get these professional photos and move up these rates a little bit. And all of a sudden, I had met a girl around the same time. And so I had a place to go on the weekend. So I kind of started renting it every weekend, and those rates went up to more like, $600 a night. And so now I'm doing $1,200 a weekend, and I'm like, shit, like, I'm doing
something
like,
here.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm doing like $4,800, $5K a month on an $1,800 mortgage. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so I always tell people, like, that year of my life, just from a wealth perspective, it's like, okay, I could have paid so $1,800 plus, so we'll say $2K a month with everything. So it could have been $24,000 a year that I would have paid to kind of live in this house. And instead, I probably made around, $50K. Or revenue is $50K. So, I mean, that's a big difference in your life when you're talking about 30 plus K from where you would be just off the place that you're living. I mean, that's a damn house hack, right?
Right.
So,
for real.
Yeah. So that was really, really big for me. And so at that same time, I joined a group called M1, which used to be kind of the feeder program for GoBundance. And so there was a couple guys in there that were starting to do this model called rent arbitrage. And so they would approach owners and they'd say, hey, I'd love to rent your place. I can put myself on this lease. Let's do a nice long lease, 2 or 3 years. I'll pay you $100 more than what you're even asking for. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on Airbnb. I'm going to take awesome care of your house. I'm going to have professional cleaners in here 3 days a week. Any maintenance stuff, that's on me. I'm going to cover that for you.
It's a no-brainer. For any savvy real estate investor, it's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. And, when I first started doing it, I felt like I was begging people. And now I'm just like, I just go in and I'm like, hey, so I'm sure like when your tenants move out, like, everything looks great. You don't have to paint or like redo the carpets or anything. So you probably have awesome tenants, right? And they're like, no, that's not the kind of tenants I have. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, cool. Well, would you want a tenant like that? And that also like wouldn't call you for anything and we'll do all the maintenance. And they're like, yeah.
And like, $100 more to your bottom line.
100%. They're like, where are you going with this, man? I'm like, well, hey, that's me. My name's Lucas. Like, here's what I do. Here's my portfolio. Here's my references. And so it's, pretty easy to convince people to do that now. And it's a great model for both people. They're cash flowing.
Lucas, can I cut you off really quick? And,
Yeah.
and I apologize. And this is like total don't do on podcast, but I want people to kind of not let that part go over their head. So a lot of people do this, Lucas. They start out and they feel like they're begging for money or begging for a deal or begging for a partnership. The way you just explained it, and the way I want the listeners to get this part is, you're bringing an opportunity. When your mindset, and I'm huge on mindset, but I'm more on action. When you change your mind to say, I'm not in here begging you for whatever, fill in the blank. I'm in here bringing an opportunity to you to make more money, live a better life, fill in the blank, right? When you have that mindset change like you did, your business scales faster, quicker, you're more confident. And that's what me as like a private money lender sometimes, that's what I want. I want someone that's confident in what they're doing, not someone that's trying to like convince me that it works. Because then I'm like, are you convincing me or are you trying to convince yourself? But if you come in with like numbers and data and it's an opportunity and I know that you're going to walk out that door and find somebody else, dude, you're almost creating FOMO. I'm like, yeah, I'm investing with this person. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Lucas, but I wanted people to kind of like highlight what you just said, that you come in and you paint a picture, an opportunity for the landlords when you're doing this arbitrage method.
100%. No, that's a great point. And, I think it's one of those things of what keeps people from even walking through that door to start that process, right? It's like, oh, I feel like I'm begging. I feel like, I'm asking for favor. And it's like, no, not if you're doing this thing. Like, let's just run through that scenario again. You're getting an incredible tenant.
Yeah.
You're getting a property back the same condition or better that it was in.
Right.
You're getting above market value. Like you are helping these people. So I keep hitting my laptop. I'm doing good here.
It's all good.
Slapping it around a little bit.
It's all good.
So that arbitrage deal then, which is in San Antonio, ended up being my first one. The guy's paying like $1,850 per month. It was already furnished. So he had it on Airbnb actually, and was just like tired of it, wasn't making that much money off of it. And I'm like, how aren't you making money, man? You're like literally 4 blocks from the Riverwalk, like a 1920s, beautiful redone house. But he hadn't invested just a little bit of extra money into like the furnishings and the pictures and things like that. So I think I invested like $3,000 into that. Just new bed, new couch, like a couple knickknacks here and there. Got a really good photographer over there and got pictures. And like immediately that thing is just like popping up. And so that one I've had years, and it averages net $2,000 a month. So it's a really, really nice property. The cool part about that one is it also came with the cleaner who loves this house. He's a really awesome, unique man. So he's like 55. He's never had a driver's license. Like, just like loves this house and like cleaning this house. This is in his comfort zone. Like I've offered him other houses. Like I've offered him, and he's just like, nope, I'm happy, Lucas. I'm happy here. I just want to do this house. So I gave him like a $10 per clean raise, which was like way below market value still. And so that one, it's just, I think my occupancy rate there is like 96%. Like I have one night per month. It's not booked. I mean, so
Wow.
I can drop that low to get people in there because I charge an $80 cleaning fee. He makes $40 a cleaning. So I'm making $40 off the cleaning too.
Right.
So if I put it on the market, if I have to lower it to like my lowest, which would be like $80 a night, I'm still netting $120 a night off that. So
yeah,
it's pretty solid.
Lucas, for someone that, well, sorry, keep going. If I want to get the whole picture. Okay, great. For someone that's like, okay, Lucas, that's awesome. Like, holy cow. I want to be able to do this myself. Where's a good starting point for someone that's like new to this, but says, I think that's how I want to get into real estate. Or I think that's how I want to reach FI, the way Lucas is doing it. What's a good starting point or what's a good resource?
From the arbitrage one or from just your owner occupant one?
Arbitrage and owner occupant on the other end of that. Yeah.
I mean, owner occupant, just work with these two fellas here. They'll get you into a house and put it on Airbnb and leave for the weekend. So
There you go.
I will just say that, like, when you think about it, like, even if you're just doing once a month or you have a huge festival that's in your town. So in October, well, so we leave this weekend for Mexico. We'll hang out there for 3 days. We'll make $1,600 off of our house. It'll pay for the trip, and we'll make, whatever, $600. So that's pretty cool. In October, we'll leave our house for the entire month. We rented a cool apartment downtown for like $2,600 a month. The bookings are starting to come in. It looks like we'll do $14K in October on our house. So, we'll have our mortgage. We'll have that $2,600, which will equal $4,600. And so we'll make $10K by leaving our house for a month. So even if you just did that 1 month, right? If you get a house and you leave for 1 month in a city like Austin, where there's like a big festival or something you take advantage of, that's a game changer, right? Like 10K towards your mortgage. Like, for most people, that's like, okay, like, I just need to do that. And now I can have this house that I really want, and I'm still doing well financially. So I'll say that from the, the owner side. From the arbitrage side, just call owners. Try to, I would say, you're trying to find owners if you can. It's a little bit harder working through agents. Sometimes it works, but just pick up the phone, as you said, Felipe, action, and just ask them, is this something that you'd be interested in? And mess up a few times. My first calls weren't great at all. So, I mean, that's really all it's about, is getting on. I love hot pads. So Zillow owns hot pads. So in hot pads, you can go in there, you can look for an area, you can click the little filter that's furnished. And so you could look for furnished rentals. And now all of a sudden you can call all of those owners that have furnished rentals that are looking for long-term people. You can just say, hey, looks like you're asking for this much. And that's $0 into that deal then if it's furnished. So I just got one in on the lake here. So now we have a lake condo. It's not a lake house, with a pool, jacuzzi, on the lake, paddle boards. And, we're walking into that with $0 into it. And we'll probably make $2K off a month of that. And we'll have a place to go on the weekends. It's only an hour away if we want to use that for ourselves. So,
man, that's amazing. Because like, I think people sometimes look at real estate investors, or like that they want to do those things, and they see one way: buy a house, rent it, buy the next house. Right? There's so many different ways to get into real estate investing. And there's so many different ways to fund it. Most people are like, or a lot of people sometimes are like, I got to use my own money. Why don't you do what Lucas is doing, right? Airbnb arbitrage. You don't have to put any down payment money. Like, you're not having to go through the loan process, all this stuff. You sign a lease on a property, you rent it on Airbnb, you use those funds to start funding your real estate long-term investing career, right? There is so many ways to get into real estate, and there is a way for everybody to get in based on their needs and wants. Just like every real estate deal out there has a right owner for it. Like you said, you saw property that was beautiful, and to someone else it was just like, no, that's just a regular rental. But you're like, no, there's a lot here. So you just have to open up your eyes to that and figure out what does this house do? It might not be a great flip, but it'd be a great Airbnb, or it might not be a great Airbnb, but hey, it might be a great wholesale deal. All real estate has a certain like aura to it, and what's it best fit for. So I love that you kind of found that niche.
Yeah, man. And I just have this huge urge of emotion coming out of me right now, because this is like where I get really passionate. Just going back to like even the owner one, like when I talk to people, a lot of people are struggling, like it's just financially, it's just like, man, the mortgage is already so hard. It's like, but like, is it worth it for you for 2 years to like get out of your house for a month or leave for weekends or whatever to like get an extra like 30 or 50K in a year? Like, for most people, like that is a life-changing amount of money. Like when you're like just making it, I know for me, when I was all of a sudden like, I can buy another house now. I can do like invest in this. Like, I don't know. I just think it's just like, but then people will say, yeah, but I don't want people to sleep in my bed. And I'm like, dude, I don't care who sleeps in my bed for 50K. Like, we got different sheets. We got a mattress protector. Like, you can do the dirty in my bed all night long if you want to. Don't tell me about it, but do it and give me my 50K and let's move on. And at some point in time, we won't have to do this. But like, that is a very small sacrifice for me, for someone to have sex in my bed for me to be able to, reach financial freedom. And so I don't know. I just wanted to touch back on that point because I just think it's just such an easy way right now for people to say, I'm really struggling. We save about, $500 a month, we're cutting where we can. Like, what else could we do? Oh, we'll just do this. We'll list it, we'll find the biggest weekend to rent it out, whatever, even if it's an extra 5K or 10K. So
this is Lucas. I think this is what people don't realize. People don't realize that your largest expense is your mortgage. And you will never save or cut enough to be rich and financially independent. And that's just the truth. You cannot save enough, or you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in real estate. You have to invest yourself, invest in a business. You're not going to save yourself, and you're not going to cut out enough Starbucks to make yourself rich if you're making less than, let's say, $100,000 a year. It's just not going to happen, right? So like you said, it kind of brings chills to me to think about someone's like, oh, I'm going to save an extra $100 a month. And it's like, why not spend an extra couple $100 in a bedroom at your house and rent that out, right? Like, there's so many different ways to do this. It blows my mind, man, because it makes me feel sad when people are like, man, I cut back on like Starbucks and I don't go out to eat and I don't do this, I don't do that. And if you have a family, dude, they're hurting too. Like, that means, and the possibility of financial independence is not a dream. It's an action that you need to take towards.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So Lucas, you were able to quit your job recently. Can you walk us a little bit, like, the thought process? Because that's something that a lot of people, that's a lot of people's goals sometimes, is to leave their job and actually do something that they're passionate about, go fully into real estate. Of course, you created a business, but you also have your investment properties. So walk us a little bit through that, just so that the audience can know.
Yeah, I just have to break too and just say, like, we haven't even talked about our part of our relationship, Diego, that, we were in a mastermind for 3.5 years together.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
So I think I approached you
once a month.
And Matt King and Ryan. And yeah, man, I mean, at first we were meeting every 2 weeks or 3 weeks for that first bid. And yeah, man, almost 3.5 years that we met at least once a month. To push each other towards this kind of stuff. So it's just crazy, like, how well, because when you ask these questions, like, my story, like, the back of your hand, right? Like, just like I know yours, of just like the ups and the downs and all around. So, and why I say that is because, leaving my job was on my goal list for, I think, 3 years, if not 4 years. And it was like, it's this year, I'm going to do it, and like, I just couldn't figure out how to get to that next level, which I had the answer right in front of me. I was just scared, I was just really scared. And I also had a job that did not take up that much time, to be honest. Was pretty easy. I made pretty good money. And yet the burden that it put on me week to week and day to day was extreme. I brought a lot on myself because I felt like I should be working harder. Like, I felt like if I was working on my side business, I was cheating on my company. Like, so I'd have these emotions that would, like, drag me down, basically, to where I didn't have, like, the emotional capacity or energy to, like, work on my business. So I had a few other Airbnbs. I think I was up to 5, probably like 2.5 years ago. I had one really bad partnership that I could dig into if y'all want, if we have time. And so, like, lost a little bit of money there. But more, it just, like, scared the crap out of me. I'm like, whoa, wow, lawsuits, this is not fun. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to build back up. And so my goal is basically, if I can get to around 8 to 10K net per month, I'm going to leave my job. And so last year, March, I hit that mark. I think I was at 8,500 a month. And then I don't know, have you all heard of COVID?
No.
This guy.
What is that?
Okay, yeah. So it's this virus. No, so last March, COVID hit. Like literally, when I'm like, I think I can quit my job. Like I think this is it, you know. And COVID hit, and like, you know, everything in the short-term rental market just was like I don't even remember the number now, but I think I had somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 in cancellations within a week. Like it was just like bow, bow, bow. Like it was supposed to be South by Southwest that month. So I mean, I'm talking like 4-day bookings that are like 10K bookings, just like, sorry, we're not coming. Like
Gone.
boom. And not only that, but Airbnb is giving me a full out. Like you get $0 from that thing, even though I'm supposed to be there in 3 days. Like, oh my gosh. So that all hit, and super stressful, and I'm just like, man, this is not good. And then I had my favorite property on South Congress with one of the Go Abundance guys. He's like, man, I think I need to sell for like my family. And I'm like, man, I'd really love to keep this property. We just launched it 3 months ago. I'm making like $4K a month off this thing. That was an arbitrage. Yeah. I let him out of that deal to sell based off what he thought was best for his family. So, you know, long story short, and then I got furloughed from my job for 2 months. So I had income coming in from that, but unemployment was paying just about the same. But like, I mean, I did nothing during that time. Like I didn't even think about business. Like I literally like worked out and drank some whiskey and like was doing some like mindset stuff, but like I was just like, man, this is too risky. Like people have told me Airbnb is too risky. Like this is why. Kind of got down. And then I would say by like September, I was finally like, all right, dude, like what's happening? Like you're back at your job. You're still miserable. Like Airbnbs are starting to come back. You were able to pivot the ones that you still had to 30+ day rentals. Now that was a key point for me because it was kind of this like stress test for my business. Worst case scenario. What's the worst thing that could happen? Oh, a pandemic. Everything shuts down. No one's traveling. They're not allowed to travel. That is the worst possible thing. And those properties, I was still able to make it. Most of them, I wasn't like cash flowing, but it was like I still was able to get those mortgages paid. And so that was a really cool point to stress test. And I'm like, all right, I think I need to do this thing. So started scaling. And then I got this huge wholesale deal, which was just a random deal. Like literally you're going to like this story. So I'm in court. Like 2 years ago, I had a violation for one of my Airbnbs. It wasn't licensed, and we were going through that process. And this guy sitting next to me in the Austin little court was like, he had a violation for like his restaurant. So anyways, I speak Spanish. We're like just chatting in Spanish. He's like, oh yeah, I got these lots over here and there and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, I'd love to see them. Long story short, it was a huge wholesale deal, like, 6-figure deal.
6 figures wholesale deal.
Wow.
Yeah. Dude, that is
three lots and 3 lots in East Side Austin, just like, doubled what he thought he was going to make, 100x what I thought I'd make. And, and so that was, so then I had the Airbnb Income, which was probably at like right around that 10K per month, plus that at the same time. And it was just like, I got no more excuses, man. Like I'm out of here. And the crazy thing is, like, even without that big deal, I think I would have left because I finally hit that number from the Airbnb stuff. But it was even that much more of like okay, like now you can do this, even you can go even harder and feel good about that. So yeah, that was June 1st, I think, was my last day with that company. I had 5 properties at that time. So from June to, let's say today, September 1, I went from 5 to 15. And my goal, well, not my goal, I just think this is where I'll be by the end of the year. I'll have over 20.
It's interesting though, right, Lucas? Because a lot of people feel like you need 20 to quit your job. You did it with 5.
Well,
and a lot of people don't realize that.
Well, with the Airbnb money, right? I mean, so again, it's like when you have an arbitrage that you're making 5K, 6K a month off of, like you don't need a lot of those. Or if you're managing a property that's doing 30K a month, that's 6K for me a month, at 20%. So you don't need a lot of those, right? So if I just have 10 well-performing Airbnbs, I'm netting 60K a month.
That's what I'm saying, Lucas. And people tend to think that like gurus can only do that, or you got to be this like a crazy investor and be like super savvy. And it's like, no, 5 arbitraged Airbnbs can absolutely change your life plus everyone after you, because you're going to continue to scale.
100%.
Lucas, I appreciate you telling that story, because I hope that this podcast changes 1,000 lives and just follows your model, because there's enough to go around. That's the reason that Diego and I do what we do, because people sometimes even think like there's not enough. I'm like, there is more than enough to go around. There is, like, our mastermind is like, how can we give you these opportunities? Because we want to see people's lives change. So that's awesome. That's, thanks for sharing the story, Lucas. Before we move on though, what's next? What's next for Lucas? What are you doing? What is long-term vision goal? What does this look like a couple of years down the road?
Yeah, so that's really what I've been thinking a lot about these last couple of months, as I'm not doing any marketing. Still don't even have a damn website because I'm like over my head. And I probably have 3 to 4 people call me a week that want me to Airbnb their house. And at this point, I'm saying no to most of them. Yeah. I basically, at this point, I have a standard, which is unless it's going to do 10K a month, I don't want to touch it. They all take about the same time. So it just doesn't make sense for me. I want to at least be netting 2K a month off every property that I have. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think that my life, I still want to design for freedom. And so I get really torn between like, how big do I want to make this? Like, what's the easiest way for me to be able to live the life that I want without the stress? Because Airbnb is stressful. I will say that, like, it can be a show. On a weekend, I have over 100 guests right now staying at my houses. It's a lot of people and a lot of things that can go wrong. Right. And so I'm building the systems to try to help that 100%. But I don't know. I'm meeting with a big investor tomorrow who really wants to kind of buy into the company and scale it. And I'm going to have to decide if that's something I want, because for me, when I think about having 10 or 20 well-performing properties and having an operations guy that can run that, and I can kind of wipe my hands of it. It's like operations guy, I have a cleaning manager, and I have a VA in Vietnam, and I'm working 5 hours a week, and I'm netting 30 or 40K a month. Man, that sounds pretty darn good to me, So if I went up to 100, what could that look like? Well, man, then we're talking, I could be doing 150K a month. And I don't know if I want that, and it's it's like this battle between like, well, is it limiting beliefs? Is it this? Is it that? And I don't know yet. So I'm still really pushing through that and talking to my circle. I'd love to talk to Diego about it, who knows me really well and my mindset with investments. So I don't know what's next, but I know that I want to build a really great business where I'm providing concierge, model for my friends and family and clients who are doing this. And I want to make them a ton of money. And I want to be at a point in my life where I can leave and go and have Airbnbs where I want them. So I want an Airbnb on the beach. I want an Airbnb in Colorado. I want an Airbnb in Belize, so I can do all of those and build this lifestyle where I can bring my family for a month and we're staying in our places. And I'm making really good money. And then I might be able to go back to the life that I really love of giving back. So, like right now with all these refugees, come from Afghanistan coming in, a lot of people in New Orleans are needing houses. Like, I want to be at the point where I can be like, man, I'm going to give up 5-10 houses this weekend. I don't care about that income. And I want to be able to house these people. I want to be at the point where, maybe abused women, I can build something with the city or a shelter where they can have a private place for them and their kids to live as they're going through that process. So that's the kind of stuff I think about. I still it's funny, man. I still just don't have this zest to be like, I don't want to be a billionaire. Like, I have absolutely zero desire to be a billionaire. Like, I really, really, really don't. As much as I've been around GoBundance guys, as much as I've been around that world now, I see still there's some of that stress that it adds, and I just don't handle that well. I just haven't been able to. And so I want to make a lot of money, and I want to do that in a way where it's pretty stress free for my family. And when is this getting published? When are you going to put this out?
Probably in a couple weeks.
Okay, cool. So I will be engaged after this weekend.
Nice.
And so,
Congrats.
I'm really just starting to think about where do we want to live and how can I be with my kids as much as possible. And so that's honestly what I think about more than just like, oh, I want to do 150K a month or this. Like, it's happening so naturally, and I see the progression. I see that I'm really good at what I do, and I see how much abundance there is out there that I'm just not too concerned with that side of things.
Man.
Yeah.
What an amazing story. What an amazing person. Just Lucas, I can't wait to interview you again in a year. I'm excited to see where you're going to be.
Yeah, man. And really thankful for you sharing your story too. And I think the question of what's next for you, it's something that there's going to be a lot of different thought process and be like, okay, what do you need? But what do you want? What is like maybe the expectation of your peer group? But is that really what you're really looking for to make you happy? Because at the end of the day, happiness is a choice, and it's up to you to choose the life that you want to live by design. A lot of people like the game, and then they're like, F it, let's grow. But if you're more, hey, I'm going to take a sabbatical and just chill with my 10, 20 properties, maybe once you come back, you're like, okay, I'm ready to take it on after
100%.
You've enjoyed maybe 6 months of, and I think that can definitely help you in the future. Come back with a clean slate and just go at it. But yeah, Lucas, thank you so much. I know this has been one of our longest podcast episodes, and I think it's been really cool to hear your story, the trajectory of when we went from where we met to everything that you're doing now. And I am super excited and really thankful for your time.
Thankful for y'all too.
For
Thank you
For anybody, for anybody that has questions maybe about Airbnbs, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
And I'll just give out my cell phone and my email because I just
do your email, please. Do your email.
Okay.
Yes, cell phone is something I learned from previous things.
Just
email is best.
Okay, sounds good. So just it's just rentals at 5starvacationhomerentals.com. So rentals at 5starvacationhomerentals.com.
And 5 is with the number 5?
5 is written out. Yep. So FIVE, vacation home rent. So, and then, email me there. I'm happy to hop on a call with as many people that need it or just have questions and give back however I can. I love to see people on this journey. So thank you guys for what you do and how many lives you're touching. And it's pretty cool to see the energy that you put into your groups, and definitely follow you both. And Felipe, great to get to know you a little bit better, buddy. Hopefully we'll get to hang out when you come to Austin.
Oh, absolutely. That'll definitely be a must do. Well, Lucas, we won't take up more of your time. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, brother. Continue to crush it. And we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Thanks, buddy.
All right, brothers. Have a great day.
The Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place.